How's it going, everyone? Larry here with the Farmstead Way. I just got off work and I came down here in the bottom field on the Homestead to talk about knives. Now, on a Homestead, you use blades a lot, especially if you do blue collar work. You're going to have a lot of contact with knives. You're going to use them a lot. You are going to have your personal preferences, and you're going to have specific needs that need met. And not one size fits all when it comes to knives. You have to use the right tool for the right job and use that tool as it is intended, or else you're going to break your gear. And it sucks breaking stuff on the job, on the farm, because then you're up creek. Now, these are some of the knives that I've carried over the years, and I've found pros and cons to each one of them. And I've come to find out that not one size fits all, that you need to cater the specific tool to the specific job. If you try to use one knife for one job and another knife, or the same knife for a different job, more than likely you're going to fall short, because each one of these has pros and cons, and sometimes they don't cross over into each other's worlds. So starting with the most basic knife that probably everyone has, and that is a utility knife. These are really cool because they've got pocket clips on them. The blade's really easy to change out, and sometimes this is all you need. You don't always need a giant Bowie knife when you're going out on a job, because you can use this to cut drywall, you can use it to strip wires back, you can use it to cut open tape boxes, and it's it's easy to carry, and it's public friendly. This is a lot more publicly acceptable to carry than this heffing thing. But you can use this to cut open boxes. You can use this to cut open boxes. You can use this to chop limbs off a tree. You can't use this to chop limbs off a tree. And like I said, you have to cater the tool to the job. So I use this for more delicate things, because sometimes all you need is a tiny little razor blade. You don't need a giant knife because you're just going to tear stuff up. Now, the knife that I use most often is this Scandinavian Fix Blade knife. It's got a super thick blade. It's made out of, I believe, D2 tool steel. I think this is a Brissa tracker. I carry it in this leather sheath, and it is a really good all-around knife. It doesn't look super tactical, so people aren't going to get freaked out if they see you carrying this. It's not that much bigger than your standard buck 110. It's durable. I've used this to hammer nails in, for prying stuff, even though it's not what you're not supposed to use it for. I've broken a lot of knives trying to pry things with. And I don't know, it just never fails me. I've used it as a drawing tool. I've used it as a chopping tool. It's heavy, but it's not too heavy. It feels good in the hand, and it's durable. And that's something I always want from a knife, is durability, durability, durability. I do not want to take a knife out on the job site or out in the woods and it be a cheap, flimsy piece of crap and it's going to break as soon as I try to use it on something heavy duty. So maybe something like that is going to be what you need. I'm going to try my best to stick these back in here and not lose everything else that I've got so aesthetically put up out on the table. Actually, I'm just going to do this one next. The opposite spectrum is sometimes you just need the biggest thing that you can carry. This thing's really good for hacking through limbs, for clearing brush, for fighting off idiots on a sandbar if you get yourself into one of those kind of situations. But it's giant and it's cumbersome, and if you carry this out in public, people are going to think you're crazy. But out in the woods, it works just fine. For this thing, I've got this custom-made leather sheath that one of my firefighter buddies made for me. You can carry it scout position or north-south, based on your needs. Sometimes this is what I need. Most of the time, it's a little too big for anything. Everything's gonna fall over now. Yay, look at that. But as far as practicality, it doesn't work for everything. But most of the time out in the woods, it's great. Now, something else going back into the little more practical realm is my Leatherman. Now on here, I've got a serrated knife and I've got a straight blade knife, which I have broken the tip off of because I tried to use it for what it was not intended for, prying. They make pry bars and flathead screwdrivers for stuff like that. You use your knife for what it's not intended for, you're going to break it. These are so handy because you can just get it, flip it out. I use this to clean my pipe out a lot. That's why it's covered in black crap from the inside of the bowl. And this is really good for, you know, cutting boxes open, for, I don't know, just being an overall knife, whatever you use a knife for. And then you've got the serrated knife, which is really good for sawing through light things, cutting baling twine, for cutting open feed bags, zip ties. That works really good. Now for a everyday, not at work carry, maybe you just need a good old folder. This is a $24 Klein electrician's folder knife. And the only thing I don't like about folder knives is every one that I've ever carried fall apart. The screws fall out of it, they break, the pocket clips get loose, and then the screws fall out of that. And like I've said before, when you're underneath the house, if I just take this and put this back here, and as soon as you bend your knee, it's hard to get this out. You bend your knee, and you can get this out. Especially when you have to work underneath of a house in a crawl space, especially like mobile homes where you have underbellies, you don't have to fight for a pocket knife. And if these get gravel in them, they will not open. And normally the blades are really thin. But if you just want something that's low profile that you can carry with you every day and not really have to worry about it, a folder might be for you. And now we go to the classic Buck 110. I used to carry this all the time. I love the classy look of this. It's just a good durable knife. The blade doesn't get loose from the design because, you know, with these you can have a lot of because the blade will get loose. But once again, I tried using it for what it was not intended for, prying an orifice out of an A-coil because I do heating and cooling, and I snapped the tip off. And it was really sad because this thing's such a classy knife. But one of the downsides, and I know they make the automatic Buck 110s, but they're like $200, and I don't have $200 to spend on a pocket knife. You have to take it out of the sheath and open it like that, and sometimes you just want to grab something and have it. But these are really, really good knives. They've worked for generations and generations, and sometimes that is going to be the best knife for you. I also used to carry this K-Bar TDI, I guess it'd be fixed blade punch knife. It's not really a punch dagger, but you could hold it and thrust if you want to. These are really good because they're tiny, but this is intended for fighting. And I've not done a lot of knife fighting in my time. So this has its limitations. I would stick this in my boot because you can do that here in Ohio. And it's just a nice little backup knife. Say if you get into a situation and someone takes all the gear off you and they don't check your boots, at least you have something. Doesn't really work in all applications, practical, mixing words together. But these little boot knives, they're great if you just want to carry a backup knife. Now I've also got a Gerber Strong Arm. I've not used this a lot. It's a really good knife. I love that it's just a straight blade all the way through with no serration. So that way, if you want to do any fine carving, it's got the nice little pommel. So if you want to break glass and stuff with it. And for this one, I bought this Kydex Scout Carry sheath for it, and I modified it a little bit. I put some holster belt loops on it so I can carry it in the Scout position without it wobbling about, because it originally came with like a, I don't know what they call them, bear clip, clam grip. And it was here in the middle, and it did this a lot, and that sucks. And when you're carrying a knife, especially a fixed blade knife, you want it to be comfortable. You want to stay in the same position, and you don't want it to be all wonky and floppy about, because more than likely, if it's not comfortable, you're not going to carry it. I know Dwayne Knoll just did a video talking about handguns, and the same concept goes to knives. If it's too big and you don't need it, your knife to be that big, more than likely you're going to leave it at home. Same thing with these. They work for a lot of applications, and you have to think about size, what you're going to use it for, and concealability and carryability. If you're going to go into a war zone, this is probably a really good knife to have. It's durable, it's a fixed blade knife. If you're going to go to Walmart, maybe not so much. And then just, you know, some fun stuff. I used to carry this when I was a teenager because, you know, who doesn't like to do, you know, take a butterfly knife and flip it about and look really cool. But it's really thin if you don't get a good one. I know Benchmade used to make the Benchmade Model 42, which they're hard to find, and it was made out of like solid titanium, and they're $200. And if I'm going to spend $200 on a knife, I'm going to get something I'm actually going to be using on the job site. So there's some of the knives that I've used over the years in carry. Each knife is going to be specific to the person and the job they need to use. If you're an electrician or a blue-collar worker, maybe you need something like this. If you're clearing hiking trails, you're out in wilderness all the time, and you think you're going to have to fight off bears, or like I said, disgruntled people on sandbars down south, maybe something like this is more practical for you. But you have to just tailor it to your needs and find what works for you. So there's an overview of the knives I like to carry. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment box below. Please share and subscribe these videos if you enjoy this content. I'm just mixing up all of my words today because I am such a literary, there you go again, great orator. And yeah, just try what works. And if it doesn't work, don't force it and try to make it work. Because more than likely, you're going to just get hurt or you're going to be uncomfortable. And when it comes to knives, you have to find what works for you and what's comfortable. Or like I said, you're not going to carry it. So thank you all for joining the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.